We left the moorings at Fotheringhay around about 9 o'clock. Not an early start because we didn't have a huge distance to go. I was aiming to do about 19 miles-ish, and that would mean dealing with 11 locks. A few of those were those big heavy manual wheel type locks. We planned to also stop at Pear Tree Farm moorings, which is a beautiful little mooring in the middle of nowhere. We thought this would be an ideal place to stop for some lunch before pressing on to Woodford. By early afternoon we'd arrived at the moorings at Pear Tree Farm. It's a nice little spot tucked out in the countryside. The Friends of the Ning keep it really nice. There's barbecue facilities. It's just a perfect spot. With 4 locks still to do, it was time to set off and head towards Woodford, which would be our overnight mooring. And that meant backing out of where we were moored and getting back onto the main river. After a beautiful day's cruising, we soon arrived at our moorings for the night. It was lovely to be moored up at this site at Woodford. It's another one run by Friends of the Ning and it's really beautiful. We had a walk around Woodford itself. It's a lovely little village. It's got pubs, it's got a nice little church. It's a really great place to spend the night. It was later that evening when we noticed that the loo was struggling to pump the water out. This was the rather unusual breakdown I mentioned earlier. It took most of the evening messing around with it and the water would come out, but incredibly slowly. So I resigned myself to the fact that the following morning I'd have to dismantle it and try and work out what was wrong. One thing you do get on rivers and canals is some beautiful mornings, and this one was one of the best. The mist was just hanging around just above the water. It was really lovely. We watched the swans as they got ready for their day. It was time for us to dive below decks and see if we could sort this loo out. It took a bit of figuring out, but we actually found the small part of a cap from a bottle actually jammed in one of the elbows in the pipework. We soon got it cleared so we could get back on our way. Almost 11 by the time we'd fixed all the problems and we were ready to go. We didn't really want to overnight in Northampton, and just after Northampton is the Northampton Lock, so we wanted to make sure we did that in one day. So we decided to stop a little bit short at White Mills Marina. The upper reaches of the Nen is a truly beautiful river. On a hot sunny day like this, it was an absolute pleasure travelling along. What we didn't realise was up ahead things were going to get a little bit more tricky. Then, suddenly as we rounded the corner, we were presented with this tree laying plumb across the river. Now, to be fair, we had passed this spot a week earlier and I had noticed this particular tree leaning precariously over the river. But by the time we returned, the tree had completely fallen in. All you can really do in this situation is slow right down and assess your chances of getting around the obstacle without damaging the boat. And so Susie gingerly started to manoeuvre the boat around the tree, while I walked forward and started to try and fend the branches off as best I could. Some care is needed when you're doing a manoeuvre like this because it's very easy for the crew to get knocked in the water. Still, Susie, using her skills, was able to circumnavigate the tree and we were on our way once more. After all the excitement of the morning, we stopped at Wellingborough for a well-earned ice cream and to pick up some supplies. It was quite late when we got to White Mills Marina, and you can just moor up on the bank there, and there's a small charge. It's a really nice spot. It was pretty late by the time we stopped, and we were really glad to be there. We awoke on day 14 and it was clear it was going to be an absolute scorcher, which is sort of a double-edged sword when you're on the river and canal. Look, it's always nice to cruise in beautiful weather, but we had those lots of the Northampton flight to do, and in this heat it would be absolutely exhausting. Today's journey, 25 locks but only 17 miles. One of the great things about being aboard for a couple of weeks, for those of us that are not liveaboards, it really gives you a good chance to get used to handling the boat. And here Susie had a tricky old lock to get out of. The currents weren't particularly great, although it was a light breeze, that wasn't really in a helpful direction, but she really made a good effort at getting out and getting more back up again. When we reached the last lock on the Nene at Northampton, we ran into none other than Graham Bufton, who'd given us lots of good advice on the way down. It was really great to see him again on the way back up. Thank you, Graham. Boat has the humorous name In the Buff, and it's a heady mix between an allotment and a canal boat. It's really fabulous. By lunchtime we were turning off the Nene back onto the Northampton branch of the Grand Union Canal, and it was, as we predicted, absolutely roasting hot. So we stopped and found somewhere for lunch because we knew the afternoon was going to be quite an epic. And so by about 2 o'clock we started our ascent of the Northampton flight, and it really was as hot as we feared it would be. There's no shade on this section at all, so it really was quite hard work. narrowboat on the left belonged to Kim and Adam. They were just setting off on their continuous cruising adventure. We often wonder how far they got. By the time we reached the little mooring spot just past Gayton Junction, I was definitely ready for a rest.
Well, we've made it up the Northampton flight and we're absolutely cream crackered, and hubby's got the barbecue going and we've got some grub cooking inside, some nice fried onions and some potatoes to go with it. Can't wait, I'm absolutely starving now.
After a good night's rest, we were ready to continue. We only had about 14 miles left to run and actually 14 locks to get through. So we took it quite easy and spent a couple of days doing the last little bit. I really enjoyed our adventure this year. We'd seen some really interesting places, but in common with other trips, I always enjoy that moment when you return, having successfully achieved your goal.
So back in the marina after a 2-week holiday, about 350 miles covered.
Bonkers.
Bonkers. So, what do you think of our journey down the Nene?
Yes, it was very, very interesting. It was a lovely trip. Probably could have done with at least 3 weeks or maybe 4 weeks in my mind to have done the 2-week trip. But in true Carl fashion, we've done it as whirlwind. But no, it's been really nice. We've seen lots of lovely things. I've seen kingfishers, I've seen herons, we see a seal, I've seen some awesome things, and we've met some lovely people who hopefully we'll stay in contact with.
So what was the standout sort of thing for the holiday? It's the one thing that made the 2 weeks wow?
I think the people that we met, to be honest. I think it was really nice. It's getting to grips with our boat and meeting really nice people.
During the time you had a chance to really improve your boat handling skills, what do you think you've learnt most out of that?
Just to try not to panic too much, keep a little bit of speed on. Yeah, not to be intimidated by people, because it is really sometimes, you know, if people are waiting, everything happens quite slowly, and sometimes you do have to do a 14-point turn rather than a 3-point turn like you would in a car. But you just have to sort of just chill out and think, well, they'll just have to wait. and generally people do. There's always the odd funny person, but on the whole people are quite relaxed, and they'll wait their turn, and they'll be patient with you. After all, everybody's been a learner, haven't they?
They certainly have. What do you think any negatives of that particular route were?
Probably the fact that we didn't have a towpath. We're used to towpaths on the canal, and we do like to stop for a cup of tea and something to eat. So that was a bit of a tie.
So did that make the fens particularly? Yeah,
it was really hard because we had to just keep pushing on, and sometimes it would have been just nice to have sort of like chillaxed a bit and, having to eat on the go, one or the other. It's nice if we can both have a nice sort of like, a nice time eating our food and stuff when you're sort of on the go and you feel that the other person is having to steer and to eat, it's not as fun. I like being able to pull over and have a cuppa. And
it's surprising.
Even if it's only for 10 minutes, it's just
nice
it is.
Sort of stop.
So I have missed the towpaths on the rivers, but so that's the downside, and the fact that the fens kind of went on and on a bit.
Very straight, aren't
they?
Really,
really samey. But you know, it was an experience anyway, and the fish were absolutely incredible. I love seeing the fish and the amount of herons, and you know, it's really surprising, the wildlife. Even though you're down in a bit of a ditch, it's not much of a view on the fens. If you want a view, don't go there. If you like seeing wind farms, you'll be fine. But yeah, the fish are really lovely.
Yeah, the fish were beautiful. And we've shown a clip earlier in the vlog of that. The locks were a bit different as well, weren't they? The big guillotine locks. What did you make of those? They were huge,
they
weren't
were
they?
hard work, especially the ones with the wheels. They were a little bit special. But yeah, I had my little pal Cat on the way down, and obviously you did most of them on the way back. So yeah, Mr. Muscle onto the job.
Yeah, Cat was pretty amazing around those locks because I don't know. 6 stone nothing, and
she was a little powerhouse.
Yeah, a little powerhouse. That was good. So it didn't mean we only had to do half of them. So what next adventure? Where should we take the narrowboat next?
Well, in the short term, I don't know. Probably would be nice to do Wales again, I think, and do the big aqueduct in our own boat.
That was pretty cool, wasn't it? Yeah.
But ultimately, obviously, I want to go to Yorkshire, so...
Yeah, Yorkshire, that would be the big adventure, won't it?
I'd really like to do that, but yeah, I think we're not doing that in 2 weeks.
No, I think it'll take a little bit more than 2 weeks. Excellent. Cool. Yeah, brilliant.
Well, that about wraps it up for the summer adventure. 288 miles, 150 locks. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please click the like button and subscribe. We've got lots of content planned. We've got some more DIY vlogs, and of course we've got some more adventures. Until then, thank you for watching.